Hello there. My name is Lisa Marie. I am the Soap Lady of Cocoa, and we're about to make a batch of Cocoa Nutty. This is Cocoa Nutty. It's a beautiful bar. Coconut scented. Smells like suntan lotion. And as you can see, it's 3 colors, but in fact what we only do is mix 2 colors. I have already melted my oils and my butters, and I got this to 120 degrees, and I mixed my lye solution, which is sodium hydroxide. All I did is boil down ash. In the olden days, people used to use ashes, and you'd have these visions of these women with these big cauldrons over a huge fire pit, and they're using a big oar, and they're bubbling all day to make the soap. Back then they used actual fats from animals and ashes. Well, these days we have cocoa butter, olive oil, shea, avocado oil, and the like, and we have sodium hydroxide, which is boiled down ash. Yay, because it could get quite messy otherwise. Anyway, so I have these, cooled this down in the ice bucket, which is off camera, you can't see it. Got it down to, let's see, 110 degrees. And this is at 111 degrees, which is fine because they have to be within 5 degrees of each other. What I do is get my handy dandy stick blender out. Yay! It's like cuts the time down so quickly. Okay, what I'm going to do is pour this in there and then immediately use this stick blender to go down into the pot. And what that does is called cupping. It pushes the floating oil on top down. I'll show you what this looks like. So I pour this in there, and this solution will sink to the bottom. And because this is how we are turning the oils in the soap, it's vital that we get it stirred up. And I do short little bursts like that so as not to burn up my motor, as well as to the way this works. The stick blender pulls down and it's pulling air into it, and you see all these air bubbles here. You want to get rid of those. You want to stir those out, and the best way to do it is while the base is still thin, because over time what happens is it starts to thicken. It'll turn into like a thick milky or gravy texture, then it gets thicker like applesauce, and you want it in the molds before it gets to mashed potatoes, because after a while it'll get to refrigerated mashed potatoes, and that's hard to work with. So I do this just like when you make a cake. You hit it with the blender, the beaters, they're like 2 minutes, and just stir a little bit, because if you continue to stir cake batter, what you're doing is you're flattening, making the cake heavier. You're getting rid of all the air. We don't want to do that here, but we do want to get rid of the air bubbles, because they'll appear in the soap, and what happens, even though they're little tiny things, water will hold on to that, and your soap won't be as firm as it could be otherwise. So I just stir, stir, stir. And then I'll hit it with the stick blender a couple more times. Oh, also, you go in at an angle like this. What happens is you're making sure no air bubbles are in the top of the cup. Get the rest of that in there. I'm going to bring that here and show you. Can you see all the air bubbles that are in that? We want to get rid of those. stir, stir, stir. And see the wake that's left behind when you pull the spatula through the mixture? It's getting thicker. The more soap you make, the more adept you become at working with the viscosity. So you can do different things with the batch. It's so fun because you can affect how the soap lands in the mold and create different looks because of it. It's kind of fun. You can work with a thinner batch or make it thicker, and you know. I did a mountain scene once. Made the soap really thick, the batch, and it was like working with see, Play-Doh almost. That was fun. And I did a whole mountain scene. And then at one point I made the batch thin. I separated it into 2 colors. And I put the one color in first, and then the second I poured a thin stream from up high, and so it fell down deep into the soap. And because it was a thin stream, the other color that was there would close over top of it. And I kept doing it, and it had all this really cool kind of like psychedelic design inside of it. I'll go get it. I'll be right back. Here, it did that. Is that cool or what? So today I'm just doing I'm doing coconutty, and it'll be flat lines. And what I do is I block the mold so it lies at an angle, and then when I put the soap in it, it stays. Let me finish stirring this, get all these air bubbles out. You really want to make sure that you stir a lot, because it may look like it's thoroughly mixed, especially when putting in the scent, because they're oils and they're different weights, and some could rise to the top or stuck on the edge and you're not aware of it. So just stir, stir, stir. And this doesn't typically thicken the batter, more the stick blender does. You see quicker results. This primarily is just to get any scent or colorant thoroughly mixed and to get rid of the air bubbles. And yes, I did say colorant. We're going to put the colorant in. So that's looking pretty good. Let's see so you can see it. Okay. Now I'm going to hit it with the blender a little bit more. When you get a spatula, get one that's smooth like this. It's so much easier than anything you have to take apart, because if you don't take it apart and get all the base out of there, it will turn to soap and then it'll fall off when you make your next batch. Just speaking from experience. Okay. Look at that. Nice and thick. Now this batch, as you can see, I've got 3 different colors going here. So what we do is I put a little bit in there. I'm doing a lighter brown. hit it with the stick blender. Now you can only go just little taps. Anything more than that, and you're going to be sucking so much air into your batter that we've already got some air bubbles introduced into that, and it just slows down the work. Okay, set this aside and set this aside. Now this is my scent. This is a sweet coconut scented, like I said. It's gonna be nice. And I always put the cap back on because to spill that would be so sad. Okay. Now we're just gonna use a portion of it in here, because all parts of the bar have to be scented. And I just eyeball it. It's pretty easy. Get it good and mixed up. Got some on the floor. Okay. Now. What I'm doing here is blocking. So when I pour this in there, it stays where I put it. Try to get a little thicker. Oh, it's... Oh, that reminds me. When you go to clean these things, always, always be sure you unplug them first. Get a routine so you never get out of your routine. Always unplug it first. Okay. Let's turn this up. Get any big air bubbles out. Okay. Then I just pour it in. Okay, cool. Okay, now I'm going to do my next color, which is just going to be a thin brown stripe. Very dark brown stripe. You always put the colorant in first. And after you put the scent, then you really don't want to really mix it up. Afterwards, you can break up the scent molecule and lose all your scent. Ooh, that's beautiful. Can you all see that? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sure to scrape your sides as well as the bottom. I'm going to hit it again with the stick blender. Make sure you go at an angle. Get any air in there. Gosh, looks like chocolate. Stir out all any large air bubbles. Once again, make sure you scrape your sides well. Okay. Add your scent. Okay. Let that sit a moment. Stir this. Ooh. So nice. Okay, now I'm going to sprinkle a little of gold mica powder on there. I do like this to kind of keep it from dropping large clumps. I try to just get a thin coat. I use lip-safe colorants, and mica is from the earth. Cool. I can see that, how that looks. And the idea is it gets thick enough so when I set it down, it'll stay in place. So now I'll go ahead and just add the scent to this and stir while waiting for that to thicken. And as you can see, I don't pour it in all at once because some scents cause accelerated trace, which means it turns thick really quick. Adding the scent will just cause the soap to seize. So you want to put in just a little bit at a time till you're familiar with what your scents do. Some will even thin the batch a little. So you've got to learn to then beat it longer to get a good thicker base, because when you pour the scent, it thins it out. And that's just something you just have to learn by doing. Ooh, that smells so good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pour this over my light brown. Put this little coating over top of it. Nice thin line. We gotta do it real light. We don't want this to sink in. We want this to rest on top. If we were to hold it up higher and pour it thicker, it would force its way down into what I've already have in the mold here. Because I've let it sit, both what's in the mold and what's in my bowl, it's thicker. And I can control it better. So, get ourselves a line going here. That's neat. How's that look? Oh, neat. That is so neat. Okay. It's so fun to make soap. It's an artistic outlet. I've tried painting, really wasn't good at that. Only there's some wonderful painters in the family. I've tried sewing. I literally broke a needle when I was trying to sew a button on. So, scratch that. I'm an okay cook. I keep the family fed. Okay, go like this, because we want a nice flat line. Go like this. Get rid of that little those little bumps on top of there. Okay, now I do one more coating of this. Oop, running out. Okay. Aside. So we'll let that sit, kind of thicken up. That's cool looking. Let's see, tilt this guy a little more. Tilt him a little more. Yeah. So cool looking. I love this design. So we'll let that sit there for a moment, and we stir this to keep it from getting too thick on its own, because when it sits, it gets thick. In about 24 hours, I'll take these molds and pop them out and then cut them. But it takes a good 24 hours before I can do that, otherwise the soap's too soft to work with. Okay, almost. What I'm doing is setting it down to see if it quick runs back that way. If it does, then I can't pour this in yet, because it'll push that aside, and we have a different look. Anyway, see this guy? Oh yeah, here we go. I'll show you one. So I pour it ever so lightly in one corner and let it rise on its own. And then I come here and move along it. It kind of helps push it down. And I just keep applying it ever so lightly. Oh, this is so cool. Okay. And then what happens is, this end, oh, I gotta show you. Okay. A little scary to move it now because it's still quite wobbly. But, see the end? How that turns out? Isn't that neat? Try to keep it level. Get a angle going there. Pretty cool. Anyway, I'll finish up the rest of these. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to order some of my fabulous soap, go ahead and go to thesoapladyofcoco.com. Use promo code FREEW6. Order 6 bars and you get free shipping. That's FREEW6 for free with 6. And I thank you for your time. Have a good one. Bye.